All right, let's dive into this world of substation engineering. We're talking interview prep today and high voltage stuff, and we've got role catchers guides to help us out. We've got career overviews, we've got interview strategies, we've even got a sneak peek into their AI-powered tools.
Yeah, one of the things that's really cool about RoleCatcher is how they go beyond just giving generic advice and really get into the specifics of the role.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll definitely unpack those AI features a little bit later. But first, let's just demystify this whole substation engineer thing. Like, what do they actually do day to day?
Well, the RoleCatcher Career Guide, it paints a pretty dynamic picture. I mean, it's not just about maintaining power lines, right? It's about designing and overseeing the systems that keep our world running, literally. Think hospitals, schools, businesses.
Hmm.
They all rely on the systems that you'd be designing and managing.
Okay, so huge responsibility. But RoleCatcher also highlights some pretty cool perks that come with that responsibility.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, the demand for substation engineers is like skyrocketing right now. So that means competitive salaries, room to grow, plus you're working on the cutting edge of technology, smart grids, renewable energy integration. It's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, I love that this field is constantly evolving. But let's be real, the guide doesn't sugarcoat the challenges either.
Right. You got to go in with your eyes wide open. Long hours, high pressure situations, potential hazards. It's all part of the deal. And that's actually where I think RoleCatcher's prep tools can give you a real edge.
Totally. So let's jump into some of these interview questions because the RoleCatcher guide, it gives us 9 examples.
Mhm.
And they don't just give you answers, they break down the strategy behind each one.
Yeah, and that's what I think is so cool about RoleCatcher. It's not just about giving, a textbook response. It's about understanding what the interviewer is really looking for and giving them what they want.
Okay, so let's start with a classic, a real basic one, right? What motivated you to become a substation engineer?
Yeah, it sounds simple, but it's your chance to show some genuine passion. And this is actually where I think RoleCatcher's AI really shines because it analyzes the specific company and role that you're applying for and helps you tailor your answer to resonate with their values.
Oh, I see. So instead of just saying, like, I like math and science, you might talk about how you were inspired by like a specific renewable energy project or something.
Exactly. And that's where you can, kind of sprinkle in some of those career insights we were talking about.
Hmm.
Remember the guide mentioned that there's a growing demand for engineers with renewable energy experience.
Ooh, good catch. It shows you're not just passionate, but you're aware of the industry trends too. Okay, next question. Tell me about your experience with substation design. This one feels, I don't know, a little more straightforward.
Yeah, but there's a difference between just listing your projects and really showcasing your expertise. RoleCatcher, they advise you to walk the interviewer through your design process. So, like, what were your specific roles? What were some of the challenges that you overcame? And what was the impact that you made?
So storytelling is key here. Don't just tell them you designed a substation, like really show them how you approached it.
Right. And this is another opportunity to weave in some of those career insights. Like, for example, if the company you're interviewing with is really focused on sustainability, you could mention how you incorporated LED principles into your designs.
Whoa, hold on. What exactly IA certification and why would that matter to a substation engineer?
Okay, great question. LED, it stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. It's a globally recognized green building certification system. And for a substation engineer, having LED knowledge, it means that you can design more sustainable and efficient systems, which is a big plus these days.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you're not just like name dropping LED, you're actually showing that you understand why it's relevant. And this is where I think RoleCatcher's personalized feedback is so helpful, right?
Oh, absolutely. Their AI actually analyzes your answers and flags any areas where you could, add more depth or maybe tailor your response more specifically to the job requirements. It's kind of like having a personal career coach, right in your pocket.
Awesome. Now let's get into a question that's a little more technical, shall we? What is your experience with substation automation systems?
Ooh, okay. This is where you get to show off your knowledge of like cutting edge technology. It's a hot topic. The RoleCatcher guide actually it cites a statistic that automation jobs in substation engineering are projected to grow by like I think it was 15% in the next decade.
15%. Wow. Okay, so even if you don't have a ton of direct experience, you can still talk about your related skills, right? Like
Mhm.
programming or control systems, and just emphasize your eagerness to learn.
Exactly. And if you have worked on automation projects, really highlight the specifics. Did you implement a new system? Did you troubleshoot a complex issue? Really show them that you're not just familiar with the concept, you've got the hands-on experience too.
Okay, I like that. Let's shift gears to a question that's a little more focused on the practical side of things.
Hmm.
Uh, Tell me about your experience with substation maintenance and repair.
All right, so this is where you get to demonstrate your problem-solving skills in action. Think back to a time when you had to think on your feet to fix a critical issue. RoleCatcher, they emphasize using the STAR method here. So situation, task, action, and result.
Oh yeah, the STAR method. That's like a classic interview technique. But RoleCatcher really helps you tailor it to this specific field.
Exactly. So instead of just saying, I fixed a problem, you'd walk them through that entire scenario.
Right, right. So describe the situation, the task you were responsible for, the actions you took, and then, of course, the positive results that you achieved.
Yeah. It's about painting a vivid picture that showcases your technical skills A&D, your ability to handle those high-pressure situations.
Okay. Now let's move on to a question that's all about safety regulations.
Hmm.
How do you ensure compliance with applicable codes and regulations in substation design and operation?
All right, well, this is where you show your commitment to safety, and you really demonstrate your understanding of how critical it is in this field.
So it's not just about knowing the rules, it's about showing them you take it seriously.
Right. Talk about the specific codes and regulations that you've worked with, how you stay up to date on the changes, and the steps you actually take to ensure compliance in your designs and operations.
Yeah, and this is another area where RoleCatcher's AI can be a real game changer, right? Because it can actually analyze the company's safety record and their culture, and then help you tailor your answer to align with their specific values.
Exactly. So, like, for example, if the company you're interviewing with has a strong emphasis on proactive safety measures, you might want to highlight your experience in, developing and implementing safety training programs or something like that.
Oh, that's really smart. Okay, let's tackle a question that maybe seems a little bit intimidating. Can you explain your experience with substation grounding systems?
Okay, so grounding systems, they're absolutely crucial for safety and equipment protection. So this is where you get to show off your technical expertise.
But don't be afraid to, get into the nitty-gritty details.
Yeah, explain the principles behind grounding systems, the different types of systems that you've worked with, your role in the design and installation. If the interview format allows, maybe even sketch out a simple diagram to illustrate your explanation.
That's a great tip. It shows you're not just, reciting information. You're actively thinking about how to communicate complex concepts.
Right. And if you've made any improvements to grounding systems, or encountered any particularly challenging situations, you can definitely highlight those as well.
Yeah, it shows initiative and a deep understanding of how important safety really is.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered 7 questions so far. Let's just pause for a second, take a breath, and recap what we've learned about using RoleCatcher to, really ace these interviews.
Yeah, it's amazing how RoleCatcher's AI can analyze the specific job you're applying for and give you that tailored feedback to help you stand out. And then we've also seen how you can weave in those really juicy career insights from the guide to show your knowledge and align your responses with the company's values and priorities.
Right. It's about showcasing your skills and experience in a way that's relevant to the employer that you're targeting. Okay, now let's power through these final 2 questions, and then we can shift gears and talk a little bit more about those broader career insights. Okay, you ready to tackle these last 2 interview questions? These ones seem to really get into the soft skills that are so important for a substation engineer.
Yeah, for sure. You got to have that technical expertise, but being able to collaborate effectively, that's just as important. And that's what this next question is all about. Can you give an example of a project where you had to work with multiple stakeholders?
Okay, so this is all about teamwork and communication, right? But it's not enough to just say, I'm a team player. RoleCatcher suggests choosing a project that really highlights your ability to, navigate those complexities.
Right. Think about a project where you had to collaborate with different groups, like other engineers, project managers, contractors, maybe even clients or regulatory agencies.
So it's not just about working with others. It's about understanding their perspectives, finding that common ground, and ultimately, achieving that shared goal.
Right. And don't forget, you can use that STAR method here too. Walk them through the situation, the task, the actions you took to collaborate effectively, and then, of course, the positive results that you achieved together.
Okay, last question, and it feels like a big one. Can you explain your experience with substation power system analysis? This feels like the grand finale of technical questions.
Yeah, you could say that. This is your chance to shine a spotlight on your analytical skills and your deep understanding of power system principles.
So it's not just about, running simulations or using software tools. It's about showing them that you can interpret the results, you can identify potential issues, and then develop some innovative solutions.
Right, exactly. And this is where you can really showcase, the depth of your knowledge. Think about a time when you faced a particularly challenging analysis. Maybe a situation where the initial results were unexpected or
Oh,
confusing.
I like that. It's not about pretending that everything's easy. It's about showing them that you can think critically and solve those complex problems.
Exactly. Talk about the steps you took to investigate the issue, the additional analysis that you did, and then how you ultimately arrived at a solution that, improved the system's performance or reliability.
Okay, so we powered through all 9 interview questions. But before we move on to those career insights, I want to just circle back to something we touched on earlier, which is RoleCatcher's AI features.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's worth emphasizing how these tools can really give you a personalized edge in your interview prep.
Right. Because it's not just about generic tips and tricks, right? It's about getting feedback that's tailored to the specific job you're applying for.
Exactly. RoleCatcher's AI, it can actually analyze, the job description, the company's website, even their social media presence
Mm.
to really identify like the key skills, the values, the priorities that they're looking for.
And then it uses all that information to give you personalized feedback on your resume, your cover letter, even your interview answers.
It was pretty amazing. It's like having this whole team of career experts, working behind the scenes to help you put your best foot forward.
I love that.
Mhm.
Okay, now that we've tackled those interview questions, let's kind of shift gears and talk a little bit about the bigger picture of your career as a substation engineer. Because the RoleCatcher Career Guide, it's packed with these insights that go beyond just the interview.
It's about envisioning your career path,
Right.
not just landing the job.
Right. And one of the things that stood out to me was the section on career stages.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about starting as an entry-level engineer and kind of hoping for the best. Like, there's a clear roadmap for growth and development in this field.
Right. The guide outlines, that typical progression from entry level to junior engineer, then senior engineer, and then eventually, potentially even to lead engineer or management roles.
And for each stage, it kind of, outlines the typical responsibilities, skills, experience that you'd need to progress.
Yeah. It's like this roadmap showing you all the different paths you could take and the steps you'd need to get there.
Okay, so you land the job, you're on your career path, but the learning doesn't stop there, right? The guide really emphasizes this idea of continuous learning and professional development.
Oh, absolutely. Substation engineering, it's a dynamic field. It's always evolving. New technologies, new trends, you got to keep up.
Yeah. And the guide gives you specific recommendations for staying ahead of the curve, like attending industry conferences, joining professional organizations, pursuing certifications, and of course, continuous reading and researching.
And this is where those specializations that we mentioned earlier, they really come into play. As you gain experience, you might find yourself drawn to a particular area, like protection and control systems, or you become the automation guru. Maybe you specialize in integrating renewable energy sources.
Right. So instead of being a generalist, you can develop like deep expertise in a specific area, which can open up even more career opportunity.
Exactly. And the guide actually provides some insights into each of those specializations, the typical roles and responsibilities and the skills and certifications that are most valued in each of those areas.
That's awesome. Okay, so we talked about career stages, specializations, continuous learning, but there's one more aspect of career development that's, I think, really important, which is networking.
Oh, yeah, networking. That's crucial in any field, but especially in a specialized one like this. Building those connections with other professionals, I mean, that can open doors to, new opportunities, new insights, new collaborations.
And the guide gives some good tips for networking effectively, like attending industry events, joining professional organizations, even using online platforms like LinkedIn.
Yeah, and don't underestimate the power of just, informal networking, connecting with colleagues, mentors, even former classmates. You never know where a simple conversation might lead.
So true. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We explored the role of a substation engineer, we tackled those tricky interview questions, and then we dove into the bigger picture of career development in this, pretty exciting field.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating journey, and I really hope our listener feels empowered and informed and ready to take on, whatever the next challenge is.
Before we wrap up, I want to just emphasize one key takeaway from all this information, and that is the most important thing for aspiring substation engineers is to cultivate a growth mindset.
Yes, couldn't agree more. This field is constantly evolving, so that willingness to learn, adapt, and embrace those new challenges, that's absolutely essential for success.
Right. So, to our listener who's preparing for their substation engineer interview, remember, you got this. With the right preparation, a positive attitude, and a thirst for knowledge, you can achieve your goals and build a rewarding career in this exciting field.
And with RoleCatcher by your side, you've got that secret weapon to help you stand out and land that dream job.
Okay, now it's time to shift gears just a little bit and take a closer look at some of those specific tasks and responsibilities that substation engineers might encounter on a day-to-day basis.
All right, sounds good. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of what it's really like to work as a substation engineer.
Okay, so let's get down to like the brass tacks here. What are some of the actual tasks that a substation engineer would be doing on a day-to-day basis?
Well, the RoleCatcher Career Guide, it says a big chunk of the job is designing those medium and high voltage substations, the ones we've been talking about. But it's not just like drawing some lines on paper. You're analyzing electrical system needs, creating these detailed drawings, selecting the right equipment.
So you'd have to be pretty good with those computer-aided design programs, right? The CAD software.
Oh, absolutely. CAD mastery is a must-have, and of course, a strong understanding of electrical engineering principles. Plus, you got to stay up to date on all the industry codes and standards. It's detail-oriented work, that's for sure.
But it's not all desk work, right? Because we've talked about those on-site visits.
Right. You might be involved in the actual construction or installation phases, working with contractors, making sure everything's being built according to your specifications. And then once the substation's up and running, there's all the ongoing maintenance and testing.
So it's a real mix of design, hands-on work, and then making sure those systems keep humming along, safely and efficiently.
Exactly. It could be inspecting equipment, doing routine maintenance, troubleshooting problems. There's a lot of variety, which keeps things interesting.
Yeah, I bet. And potentially some long hours or weekend work, too, like the guy mentioned that.
That's true. It depends on the project. Sometimes those deadlines get pretty intense. But with that often comes more flexibility and autonomy, which I know a lot of engineers really value. But speaking of on-site work, I think we really need to emphasize safety here.
Oh, absolutely. Safety is paramount in this field. And RoleCatcher's Guide doesn't shy away from that at all.
Right. It's not just about wearing the right gear. It's about that constant awareness of potential hazards, being super meticulous about procedures and getting continuous training. These are high voltage environments, They demand respect.
Sure. Okay, so we've got a sense of the tasks, the environment. What are some of those like must-have skills besides the technical stuff?
Well, being a top-notch problem solver is at the top of the list. You're dealing with complex systems, so critical thinking and creative solutions are part of the daily grind.
And given all the collaboration, I'm guessing communication skills are pretty high up there, too.
Oh, absolutely. You're constantly working with teams, engineers, project managers, contractors. Being able to explain your ideas clearly, both verbally and in writing, that's essential.
Yeah, and probably a healthy dose of adaptability, too, right? With all this technology changing so rapidly.
Couldn't agree more. Being able to learn new skills, embrace new approaches, that's what keeps a substation engineer thriving in this field, not just surviving. But one thing I found really cool in the guide was the section on specializations.
Oh, yeah. It's not like one size fits all when it comes to a career in substation engineering, right?
Not at all. As you gain experience, you might find yourself drawn to protection and control systems, or maybe you become the automation guru. You could even specialize in integrating renewable energy sources.
It's like, choosing your own adventure within this field. I love that.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher, they actually dive into those specializations, talk about the roles, the skills you'd need. It's like a sneak peek into your future options.
Speaking of the future, we talked about staying ahead of the curve, keeping up with trends. But how do you actually do that besides just, reading articles online?
Well, those professional organizations we mentioned, i.e., for example, are amazing resources. They have conferences, workshops, online courses, all kinds of stuff. It's a great way to learn from the best and connect with other people in the field.
And those connections, I bet, are not just important for learning, but for job opportunities too.
Oh, 100%. Networking is huge. Attend events, join local chapters, strike up conversations with people at conferences. You just never know what could come from it.
Okay, so we've got the technical skills, the soft skills, the networking. Anything else that's like absolutely crucial for success as a substation engineer?
This might sound a little out there, but the guide actually mentions the importance of personal branding.
Wait, hold on. Like engineers having their own logos and stuff?
Huh. No, not quite. It's more about showcasing what makes you unique to potential employers. Like think of it as your professional story, highlighting your particular skills, your experiences, the values that drive you.
Oh, okay. So using RoleCatcher to tailor your resume and interview answers is part of that, right? You're building that personal brand.
Exactly. You're not just showing them what you've done, you're showing them WHO you are as an engineer. And online platforms like LinkedIn can be a powerful tool for that too.
Ah, LinkedIn. So it's not just for job hunting anymore. It's about actively sharing your insights, your projects, basically, showing the world what you're capable of.
Precisely. And as you move up in your career, that personal brand becomes even more valuable. But in the midst of all these tips and trends, the most important thing is this:
Drum roll, please.
never stop learning. This field is constantly pushing the boundaries, so if you're not curious, if you're not willing to adapt, you'll get left behind.
Right. It's not just about getting the job. It's about building a career that's going to last.
Exactly. And this deep dive, hopefully it's given our listener a good foundation to build on.
So, to our aspiring substation engineer, go out there and electrify the world.
The future of energy is in your hands.
And with passion, hard work, and maybe a little help from RoleCatcher, you can achieve amazing things.
This has been an incredible journey, exploring the world of substation engineering.
We learned a lot, and I hope you did too. Until next time, keep those questions coming, keep that curiosity burning, and keep reaching for those high voltage goals.